Good evening and welcome to tonight's Finance Committee meeting for June the 21st, 2021. Item number 1, please.
Consider approval of Finance Committee minutes of June 7th, 2021, or take other necessary action.
Having reviewed the minutes, are there any corrections or additions to our minutes?
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve our minutes. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 1 passes. Item number 2, please.
Consider approval of claims for all city departments May 29th, 2021 through June 11, 2021, or take other necessary action.
Do we have a report from the Purchasing Committee?
Yes, we met this afternoon and we approved all the claims, so we move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve our claims list. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 2 passes. Item number 3, please.
Consider approval of a new copier lease with Xerox Financial Service LLC, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Cummings?
Good evening, committee and chairman. Our current copier lease is due to expire in 2022. Xerox reached out. They've got some incentives from the manufacturer that will allow us to rewrite the lease. They'll buy out the lease that we currently have. Lease for another 5 years. We'll replace all of our current copier fleet with new copiers, plus add a new copier at Public Works, which is badly needed. By doing that, taking advantage of the incentives and realigning our copier allowances, what this will do is it will save us about $350 per month on our copiers, with an estimated $21,000 over the life of the new lease.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Ms. Cummings?
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Please.
Yes.
Are we getting a better quality with the new lease, or are we just talking about the same machines?
It would be newer copiers to replace what we
copiers.
have. Yes, sir.
And they're all Wi-Fi, up to date, best technology available.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We
Move
have-
for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 3 passes. Item number 4, please.
Consider approval of the cooperative agreement between the City of Muskogee and Neighbors Building Neighborhoods for the purpose of applying for grants and grant activities on behalf of the city and other not-for-profit activities that enhance the economic well-being of the Muskogee community or take other necessary action.
Ms. Sweezy?
I'm gonna let Ms. Lynch go ahead.
You can talk all you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I guess we're gonna do it over here. I did send this, Mr. Chairman. So nice to be able to say that. Mr. Mayor and committee members. I sent you the annual report, but I wanted to make sure to run through it really quickly. And this is the 2020, Neighbors Building Neighborhoods runs calendar year, not fiscal year, your fiscal year, so you're 6 months in. I'm gonna look at them and see if we ticked. We did it. It's too small and much too read for you to read, but basically we've had one of those years that everybody has, so as you read, and I've sent it forward, so I'm sure you don't need to be read to. Again, this is our core values. Some board members you'll know. It doesn't show up at all there, but anyway, you'll see our board members that are involved. We really run a very, very diverse board. And this is the things that you are most wanting to know about. Good music, thank you. The consultation and the technical assistance in nonprofit and corporation governance, law, finance. We go on. This is really what the meat and potatoes of what you want to be involved in, except for this next one, which is very impressive. In 2020, so think this is COVID year, we received, wrote 35 grants for $2.8 million. 13 organizations were improved by their procedures, 16 had new or enhanced programs, 37 received grant services in our consultation, and 26 organizations ensured sound fiscal and accounting practices. When we run through that,
I'm Chad Farmer, Deputy Chief with Muskogee Police Department, and wanted to talk today about Neighbors Building Neighborhoods
gonna be able to see
and the
it.
work they did on writing a grant for us recently, which is the Law Enforcement Mental Health and Wellness Act. It's a 2-year grant, and we have double-digit officers that are utilizing it currently on their own time that are getting help from licensed counselors. We also have a yearly mental health and wellness initiative where the officers have to sit down with a counselor, which in turn helps the officers. And when the officers are mentally healthy, they can do their job better. And
he goes on to say how much more wonderful it is. But on that highlight, you also want to see the Farmers OK Fresh, which was a program, and then Connect Muskogee. The 2 others were fiscal sponsorships, which we talked about before. Derek will certainly help me with this. Here's the Dream Team, and we have a parent who's going to talk about
The
this.
things that I like about the Dream Team after school programs, I enjoy knowing my children are in a safe environment. The teachers, most of them are all certified. They work and they take hours and hours of time working with my child. And not only that, but their grades. I had one of my children, their grades wasn't that good, and their grades progressively gets better every time they come to the Dream Team after school program.
So if you notice, there's 235 students that are served. 61% of the parents reported an improvement in grades, 89% of the students reported being able to complete school assignments, and 61% of parents reported an improvement in grades. This is during COVID, so I want that. We're going to zip right through. The summer programs were canceled, unfortunately, last year because of COVID, but this year we're going strong. The Vistas, if you can see, there are some of their outcomes. 250 hours were served, 49 volunteers were recruited, 3 programs. That's the Dream Team Youth Programs, Lake Area United Way, and the 7th and 8th grade center Project Create. For those of you that are concerned about our drug and alcohol, this shows you that we had 300 community members receiving responsible beverage service and sales training. That's making sure they know how to ID people, make sure they're doing that correctly. 266 prescription drug lock boxes were distributed, and then 140,000 and change reached through media, including billboards, social media, print, and radio.
I'd like to say that I am very pleased with the prescription medicine and sharps drop-off, and it's been a real blessing to me and several other people that I know who've been able to dispose of things properly and easily. I mean, it just couldn't be any more easy than a drive-through.
Our prevention and action, you'll see some folks that are engaged in this that you'll see. My favorite little thing is you're hosting an underage drinking party. Well, we'll be there. We allow the police to do that because of a social host ordinance that you passed several years ago. This is a new program for us. It's in the Cherokee Nation. It's the Peaceful Warriors Way, and they do Wellbriety circles, and they do PRSS program. There's 130 clients that are served, 14 counties, of course, at Cherokee Nation, and it just started last June, so something that's exciting. Not exciting, a necessary program. You know, last summer we did Feeding Muskogee, and thanks to CDBG grant, we're going to be doing very differently, but similarly are feeding 600 food boxes a week for 9 weeks. That will be started hopefully fairly soon. There's our income and our expenses for 2020. Of course, I want to brag about my donors and staff members. And just a quick thank you to you all, because you are part of our donors. The form that I gave to you separately is just a little bit of our programs that we do for NBN. So many people ask what NBN does. That kind of gives you about 28 grants, including federal, state, tribal. For 2021, because I report on 2020s, but for 2021s, our current budget income is 3.1 million, and our expenses are about 2.9 million. So we've grown considerably since 12 years ago when we had $250,000 to our name. The last document that I sent to you was our number of proposals. You always ask about what we do for the city and the community. Since January, we've had 1 grant approved. We've written 7 for the city, 33 for the community. The award was 42. I believe that was CDBG. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Ms. Lynch?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Kim, I want to say that I think what NBN has done, particularly with this presentation, is set a standard of being certain that we can relate to taxpayers a tangible benefit for their investment. And I want to compliment you and your staff for having done that, because myself, along with several others of the council going forward, are looking to be certain that those agencies we fund, be it this venue or those agencies we fund through tourism or other mechanisms, that we're not just funding someone's overhead, that we're actually funding a result. And I think you all are to be commended and complimented for that, because many people believe that the time to improve Muskogee is now, and they want to be certain that we put our efforts and their dollars towards being certain that Muskogee grows. And Neighbors Building Neighborhoods has done that consistently. I'll also compliment you because there are several things that you do for us that were not listed. Those walk-in appointments, those unexpected last-minute
Right.
write-ins,
Tucker
those
calls.
justifications that we need.
Yeah, very
And
much
thank
so.
you for that
Thank you.
also. But I just want to say to the public that this is an example of us funding a result that produces a viable program, not just something that pays somebody's bills. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Marlon, I appreciate that. And what you're approving is our $30,000 city grant, so realize that that $30,000 was related immediately to that $500,000 grant. So you got your bang for your buck. I so appreciate it. Thank you much.
I move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 4 passes, and councilors, there is an item number 5. It's not in our packet, but Tammy will present an item number 5 at this time.
Consider approval of a cooperative agreement between the City of Muskogee and Muskogee County Public Transit Authority to provide public transportation services within the City of Muskogee or take other necessary action.
And who's presenting that one?
I can introduce.
All
This
right.
is Dina Wilson with the County Public Transit Authority, and this is another annual contract that we have with this group, and she'll be doing a PowerPoint as well.
Good, it is up there. I asked earlier when I got here, and they didn't know whether they had my PowerPoint. Good afternoon, and thank you for having me, Mayor and Council. As you know, this has been a tough year for everybody with COVID. We don't function on a calendar year. Our year actually is from October 1 to September 30. We continued through COVID, never missed a day of providing at least some service to the best of our ability. We purchased many dollars worth of PPE in the beginning, and then the state was very gracious in providing what we needed shortly after that to keep our vehicles sanitized and provide lots of hand sanitizer, masks and gloves, etc. for our riders as well as our employees. And when the city purchased masks, then we were happy and very grateful to partner with the city in helping pass those masks out to the public and to the riders, and we do still have some that we are using at this point, because we are still covered by the federal mandate that says that public transit is required to wear masks, so our drivers and riders must all still wear masks. In my presentation, I go through, well, I don't know how to use this. I think I'm supposed to. Can someone tell me?
Should just be the arrow on the right.
Right? There we go. Okay, thank you. We've been providing transportation in the city of Muskogee and the county of Muskogee since 1986. We provide fixed route and curb-to-curb demand response. This is a list of our board members and the direct administrative staff who keep the schedules done and the office running. We have a fleet that consists of 21 vehicles. We have 3 city buses, a Cherokee Nation bus, and 17 ADA compliant accessible vans. We partner with the city of Muskogee. We partner with a group called Veterans Ride Connect and provide free trips to veterans in our group. Our total group of Veterans Ride Connect serves 29 counties in eastern Oklahoma. We partner with the county and with ODOT, Motive Care, and do Sooner Ride trips. We partner with Cherokee Nation, DHS, and SAC Nutrition. As I was saying, we did additional cleaning and disinfecting. We took our trips down to 1 rider per vehicle in the minivans, as well as social distancing at least 6 feet in the bigger vehicles. So we took our 20 passenger vehicles down to 6 passengers through COVID. Our numbers, as you can imagine, dropped. At the lowest point, our ridership was down 62%. At this point in time, we have made it back to being down to 48% below where we were before COVID hit. We've added 7 new passenger ADA accessible vans to our fleet through COVID, through grant writing. We've taken this time to do some additional grant writing. We have created the 3-year plan to stabilize, promote, and grow. We've updated our website and our Facebook page, worked with the School for the Blind to get our website ADA and ESL compliant. We continue to keep our overtime spending down, which is a real challenge right now considering how short we are on employees. We've upgraded through a grant all of the lighting at our facility inside and out with new LED and dropped our carbon footprint hugely, as well as our utility bills. And for a $26,000 project, we only had to pay $4,200. The rest was covered by grant dollars. Looking forward to the future, we are working diligently to continue to provide the safest possible service throughout the county and the city that we possibly can. We have worked in partnership with the city Parks Department and everyone involved on Connect Muskogee. We have taken some time through COVID to work to begin implementing same-day service instead of all of our trips having to be provided with a 24-hour advance call. We are doing the best that we possibly can, being shorthanded on employees to provide same-day trips. We hope that as the workforce loosens up a little bit, that service can continue to get better. We have a plan in place to go forward in expanding our fixed route services. We have a grant that we just got approved for and are going forward with a new roof on our building starting on the 5th of July. I'm so excited. We do have a plan going forward also to improve access to our major employers.
to assist them in getting employees to their work sites. We continue to advocate and work for transit equity for everyone. Every person who uses public transit is either going somewhere to make money or to spend money. There is a pie chart of our ridership statistics showing mostly that half of our ridership is elderly and disabled. That's a huge population in this city that needs additional attention, and I look forward to continuing providing that service. And on the last page of your presentation is the ridership statistics for 19 and 20, keeping in mind that about half of the year is the pandemic, and I'll take any questions if anybody has any questions.
What about the trolleys? What's the update on being able to use the trolleys?
We can only use the trolleys for fixed route service per ODOT and FTA charter rules. And so right now it is not economically feasible to have them out because they cost so much more to operate, and they require a different CDL than any of our other vehicles. And I don't currently even have any employees on staff that have the correct CDL for the size that those trolleys are. It is part of my difficulty in staffing right now. I lost half of my drivers at the beginning of the pandemic, and am still working diligently to hire.
So to be able to use them for like parades or for different events, what would we need to go through ODOT to get something approved to be able to use them for those?
When I'm approached by anybody who wants to use them for any thing along those lines, I always send those requests immediately on to my ODOT representative. And they tell me I can or I can't. And it's a process that they go through with FTA to decide. I mean, I forward everything on, and I always ask. Okay. We're going to be able to have a trolley on static display for, is it Local Motion, over at the Depot Green, an event coming up. They're just going to be. We're going to have a trolley there on static display.
Is there a way for us to possibly transfer those, or
no, they belong
trade
to
to
FTA.
another department?
They belong to FTA. They don't even belong to us. They belong to FTA. Actually, the lien on them says Oklahoma Department of Transportation.
I know we've had a lot of different organizations try to use those for the chili cook-off or different events, and it just seems like they're not available at all.
Mostly right now, like I said, they're not, because we don't even have anybody qualified to drive them. They take a much different CDL than any of our other vehicles because they're larger and they have air brakes.
Do you know which CDL that is?
It's the same CDL that it takes to drive a semi because of weight, only it has to also have a passenger endorsement because they're 23 passenger.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Yes.
So if we were to come up with routes in advance, so let's say the city or the tourism department or chili cook-off people, whatever, knew in advance what their route would be, couldn't we make those as dedicated routes in advance?
If we're going to do a route, it has to be an all year long round. It has to be an all year long route. It can't, we can't just pop up a route and do it for a couple of days per the charter rules from FTA. A route has to be a route, and it has to be done on a regular basis.
It seems to me that the point of frustration with many people is that we have those trolleys as such an asset and they can't be used. Now, it was my understanding that the state or some entity had made arrangements for assistance to take care of the lien that was against the trolleys.
Not that I'm aware of.
Well,
all of our vehicles have liens on them because they're purchased with federal funds. And until such time as they are past their useful life and going to be sold, those liens stay on them and don't come off until they're ready to be sold.
Because what I would be curious to do before I vote yes is to be certain that we have something in place that shows how we can get to where we need to be to resolve the lien so that we can transfer the trolleys and then have someone else operate them. Because I understand that you guys are short-staffed and don't have the staff power to do it, but some entity within the city might.
With the trolleys having been purchased with federal funds, they can't just be transferred. They have to be sold. They have to be purchased. And, I mean, it's an extremely legal, long, drawn-out process as far as it goes with ODOT and FTA in that regard. If they're sold for more than $5,000, then FTA takes all that money back. They're still worth way more than the $5,000. There is a bill before Congress right now that would change all that. It would make a huge difference here in Muskogee as far as the trolleys if that bill that is in Washington, D.C. goes through that changes the $5,000 rule. That would mean if we sold those trolleys now, every penny would not stay here to benefit anyone in Muskogee. It would all be gone back to the FTA unless that bill goes through.
I think that's a scenario I can live with.
Mm-hmm.
So long as we had access. Because they're really nice. And I just think that for our purposes, we're missing out on an opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Do we have any direction or either a motion on this item?
I just had a question. Is it possible for us to put in a route? Is that feasible?
It is, if we can come up with a route and a driver, which, I mean, I can hire a driver if I've got a route that is set up. We have to advertise it 2 weeks in advance and have the money to pay for it, which is, but yes, we can do a fixed route with the trolley.
Thank you.
Tammy, I'm not for sure of the wording. Are we looking for a motion on this?
To approve the cooperative agreement.
Yes, so
we do have a contract. This is a budgeted item in the budget that the council passed. It is the same. It's not an increase over previous years. It's the same amount that we funded the transit authority last year. Staff does recommend approval.
All right. Once again, council.
Can we ask that you maybe look into putting a route in and possibly getting someone hired for that we'll have access to the trolleys? Sound like the council wants that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I would make it a priority.
Once again, guys, we're seeking a motion in a
I'll
second.
make the motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous,
Yes.
Tracy McGee,
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan,
Yes.
Alex Reynolds,
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs,
Yes.
Jamie Stout,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed,
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
No.
Item passes, and with that passing, that is our final item for the Finance Committee.
Okay, the Public Works Committee of June 2021 will be in order. Item number 1, please.
Consider approval of Public Works Committee minutes of June 7, 2021, or take other necessary action.
Move for approval.
Second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
And the motion passes. Item number 2.
Discuss and take action to develop a policy requiring a negotiation strategy be approved by the City Council prior to initiating collective bargaining negotiations for each fiscal year.
Mayor?
Madam Chairman and members of the committee, this follows up on a previous conversation that was had that we need to have a written policy in place that makes it clear that prior to offers being made to bargaining units, that those offers are approved by the council in advance of the offers being made. And my motion would be simple, and that is to direct staff to bring us back a policy that reflects that. The 9 of us that were elected, along with the city manager who implements our policies, have an obligation to be certain that as we deal with our employees at every level, whether it be the uniform employees or non-uniform employees, that we take every opportunity that we can to know what they're being offered so that we maintain the integrity of the work that they do. So Mr. Tucker can help me clear up my motion if it's necessary, but my motion would be to direct staff to bring back a policy in writing that clearly states that any offers to our union collective bargaining units are approved in advance by the city council.
Second.
Roy, do we need a motion, or is that just a?
No, that's a motion, and you've got a second to it. Yeah.
Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
And the motion passes. Item number 4.
3.
3.
Discuss and take action to solicit bids for mowing of all city facilities, including parkland.
Okay, Mayor and Councilman Stout.
Madam Chair, I will yield to Councilor Stout in just a moment. But one of the concerns that we have, along with many residents in the city, is that now is the time to clean up Muskogee. We have several cleanup projects that happen throughout the year, but now is the time for us, I think, to make whatever necessary investments we need to be certain that mowing is a part of that effort. It does us a counterproductive effort to schedule the various cleanup programs that coincide with our dump days. Sometimes that also coincide with our major events if we're unable, for whatever reason, to keep up with mowing. As I've often stated before from this podium and other places, we have inherited, and I say we, the council as well as the staff, protocols and problems that are nearly 100 years in the making. And so what we say tonight in terms of what our desire is for the taxpayers is no ill reflection on those who are employed today, because they were not here when some of the policies that they have to follow were written. And so we want to be certain that we are in a position to help them keep up with the unimaginable task and sometimes the daunting task of being able to mow the various properties throughout the city. We want to be a city that does not have to have planned routes when we have guests because we're unable to keep up with the way the city looks. And it's our obligation, I believe now at this time, to make these necessary adjustments. One of the things that I'll also mention before I yield the floor to Councilor Stout for any further comments is that I think that the ice storm this year is a prime example of the muster and the courage that the council had, that when we are in a state of emergency, we expend the funds that are necessary to benefit Muskogee. And in my perception, from my opinion, when we have a city that can't keep up with its mowing because we don't have the staff or resources available, for me, that is a state of emergency, that we can't maintain our image if we can't maintain our mowing. And so we will yield to Councilor Stout for further comments before we make a recommendation at this time.
As Mayor Coleman stated, we're just to outsource this to help our staff keep up with all the properties that we do mow, since we are having a hard time getting staff and getting people hired. So I think this will be a great asset and kind of relieve some of the pressure from our staff.
And another thing that we'll comment on before we seek direction on the motion or direction to staff. This is necessary for several reasons, not just because of the inability of our staff to be able to keep up because they're short on resources, but we have to be certain as a city that if we're going to fine people for not mowing their grass, that we mow ours. And so otherwise, we have no choice than to pursue other options such as self-fining to be certain that we get everything done. And that can be avoided, we believe, by being certain that we implement something that puts out a solicitation to see what that looks like. Many residents are cold to the cost. In other words, they want the sacrifice made to have a beautiful Muskogee. And if that's a cost that is worth them being happy to have Muskogee as a place to live, work, and play, certainly I think that's a cost that most of us are willing to eat.
Mm-hmm. And so then it would include all of our the city facilities, including the city facilities, including fire stations, all of our parks, and then the right of. And then we were looking at I know we do right of ways. We mow the right of ways and stuff too. We have that listing.
I have to.
And we want to be certain also that the council has an opportunity, or the committee has an opportunity, to see what those contracts look like, to be certain that those areas are adequately covered.
I have a couple of questions on this. For one, will this also include the trails?
We do consider the trails part of our park system.
Okay.
So I would interpret that direction to be part of that, yes.
So one seeking to put a bid on this, will they be bidding just generally, or bidding on specific areas that they may? Have we got that far?
That would kind of still be, I would see us kind of maybe trying to divide those out into separate separate projects, because it is a large amount.
Okay. And then my third question and comment was, I think that this is a very needed item. What kind of time frame are we looking at being able to get this up and going?
I think the sooner we get the bid process going, the better.
Yeah.
If you ride around now, the staff needs help.
Mm-hmm.
They're struggling.
And with the rain, the grass just keeps growing.
Most definitely.
And it would be including the mowing, the weed eating, edging, whatever, all the above that needs to take place.
I move for approval.
Second.
So if I may,
Yes.
just for clarification, because I want to make sure it's clear moving forward, what I would interpret as a good way to move forward from this is to put together the bid packages as you guys have described them and bring them back to you for review, because it sounds like we want to make sure we don't get too far down the road where we're bidding something out and it's not what you have in mind, right? So we would try and prepare that relatively quickly, and then you guys can say, yes, this is what we're thinking of, because we may have a different level of mowing that we would want at on the trail than we want at the back 40 at Hatbox, right? So there's different levels of mowing and edging and that kind of stuff. So we probably make sure that we have the categories right and we have the timing right. Some stuff needs to get mowed once a week. Other stuff maybe not as often, that kind of stuff. So
if we said next committee meet like 2 weeks, next committee meeting, would that be enough time?
I'll tell you, we will have a report ready for you. Hopefully it'll be a bid package ready or close to. So at the next committee meeting.
Is it necessary for me to withdraw my motion and just direct staff?
We do need the motions to be withdrawn since they haven't been restated by the chair. They can be. The motion of the second and an appropriate motion, Mr. Deputy Mayor, would be to direct the city manager to put together a bid packet for outsourcing the mowing as discussed and bring it back to the council for approval. That would be direction to staff. So that can be a motion.
I approve that motion.
We have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
And the motion passes. Item number 4,
Consider approval of amended Council Policy 2-7 Safety Plan, creating a safety culture, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Tucker?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will turn this over to Avery Rigney. He is our manager over the Division of Workplace Safety.
All right. So every year we go over the safety plan, and then we report back on it in March or February of the following year. So right now we're just updating it to be accurate to our 2020 report and our 2021 goals. So we updated the goals and changed a little bit of the wording to be more accurate to what we're currently doing.
And what would that be?
Some of the goals, we want to maintain under 40 recordable incidents. We want to lower our workers' compensation costs by 7.5%. And we want to raise our worksite inspections from 100 a year to 150 a year with a 90% pass rate as opposed to a 70% pass rate of last year. And expand our SOPs into job-specific training.
Thank you.
I had a question. What in particular are we doing to lower the cost on the workman's comp?
We're trying to lessen the severity and the potential number of injuries across the city. So working on making processes safer and avoiding heat-related issues with shade hats, water, Gatorade to the employees, things like that.
Availability of PPE.
Yeah, availability of PPE.
Thank you, sir.
Do we have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Motion passes. Item number 5.
Consider approval of amended Council Policy 2-5 Injury Reporting, or take other necessary action.
Tucker?
Madam Chair, I will also yield the floor to Mr. Rigney on this item as well.
All right, so during the department head staff meeting, there were some discrepancies in this policy that were pointed out, and we're here to change them. So the summary of these changes are clarifying the options employees have as far as immediate treatment versus initially declining treatment and then revisiting it as they need it. We're also making some changes in the wording to allow for better understanding of the policy and more accuracy to our current practices, as well as a amended light work policy, or an additional light work policy that allows for a more proactive approach to injury management.
Mr. Rigby, when you say the first thing you mentioned about the, read that again, please.
Clarifying the options employees have as far as immediate treatment versus declining treatment and then deciding they need it after all.
So what are we doing now? Do they have the right to say they don't want to be treated?
Of course they have the right. It's up to them whether they want to be treated or not. But we're just clarifying it in the policy that they have the right to decline initially, and then a couple days later it's still bothering them. They have the option to seek treatment then.
Mayor, to clarify, in the old policy, there was a conflict between the language, which there was a provision that allowed a person to decline treatment because there was a declination of treatment form included, but then there was a conflicting provision in the policy that says that the city could compel treatment. And so this is effectively a housekeeping measure to clarify what our process is to ensure that the language in the policy reflects what we've actually been doing.
And I'm assuming we would compel treatment in the hopes of avoiding workman comp issues.
We wouldn't compel treatment. We offer it.
We offer
That's
the treatment.
correct.
We offer the treatment.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm clear. Thank you. Move for approval.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
And the motion passes. Item number 6.
Consider the appointment of Michelle Shirley to the Planning Commission, filling the unexpired term of Jim Wilson, beginning July 1, 2021, and ending March 31, 2022, or take other necessary action.
Mayor?
Let me say that Michelle Shirley has been anxiously awaiting the opportunity to be able to serve our community. She was very eager to turn in her application, is ready to go, ready for her first meeting. We're excited to recommend her tonight, and I would move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
And the motion passes. Item number 7.
Consider approval of lowest bid, including alternate numbers 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 to traffic and lighting systems for the Four Corners project in the amount of $642,067.01 as approved by the Street Committee, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes, Madam Chairman and Committee. This item has been approved by the Street Committee and by the Purchasing Committee. And I will remind you that we showed 2 PowerPoints up here. I showed one myself to go through the project with you. And TEC, Traffic Engineering Consultants, also came and went through the project as well with you. So this is the actual bid that came in on that project. To remind you, we set aside $850,000 for the project. And we're pleased to see that this bid is going to be for $642,067 and a penny. So we're very pleased that it's came in way under budget, and that's why we put all the alternates in there, was in case it didn't, that we could form or do a project, and then some of that stuff that where the alternates would have been done by a separate contractor by the city. But because it did come in so cheap, we're asking that all these alternates be accepted, and I'll run through them with you real quickly. So alternate 1 and 2 was two separate types of detection. Alternate 1 is the loop detection system, which is actually a copper wire in the pavement that detects vehicles, and it's an older type system, and it doesn't work very well when the pavements move. It causes the wires to break, and it creates issues as you go. Alternate 2 is a radar detection, which is a newer type system, which the radar actually goes up on the signal mast arm, so a much better system. So the way we had this set up, we were either going to have to choose the alternate 1 or the alternate 2. So alternate 1 we're not going to recommend because it's the older type, and we're going to recommend the radar. Alternate number 3 was to do some sidewalk wheelchair improvements at the intersections that are getting pedestrian improvements. So if there's a or if there's a signal that's getting some pedestrian improvement to it, we're going to do some sidewalk and wheelchair ramp improvement. Alternate number 4 was to remove the signal at Cherokee and Broadway, and we had intended if it came in high, the city would do the removal, but it didn't. So we're going to go ahead and let these contractors remove those signals at Cherokee and Broadway. And again, to remind you, we're going to restripe that and put up some stops that we feel will work properly. Alternate number 5 was to upgrade the controllers for timing plans and communication, and we were going to have to do this one way or another, either in-house or with a contract, so we're pleased to be able to get that into the contract. Alternate number 6 is to replace the incandescent lights at Cherokee and Muskogee to LEDs, and it's also to replace the back plates that are worn and weathered and not in very good shape. And then alternate number 7, the 2 lights that are getting very little improvement are Main and Broadway and Main and Muskogee, and that's going to be to add that radar detection to both of those as well. So with all the alternates together, that bid came out to $642,067 and a penny. The way we're going to break that funding down is we're going to use some sales tax money that was identified for the zones, which, as you know, we put money aside for traffic signal improvement. We're going to use $357,740,000 out of that account. There is $35,260 left in the Viaduct Bridge account, and we're going to use that, which will close that account out. And then there's $250,000 in dedicated sales tax money that was identified for this project, and we're going to use that. So that totals up to the amount that we're looking at. And again, we're very pleased that it came in way under budget. And I will tell you, there was one other bid that bid over $2 million. Concerned us when we saw the bid. We did have TEC, our engineer, go back and review the low bid from traffic and lighting, and it gives us all the deliverables we need. Everything that we put in the project is going to be done. So we are, as staff, recommending traffic and lighting systems for that amount, $642,067 and a penny. And again, this was approved by the street committee last week, and I'll try to answer any of your questions if you have them.
Have any questions?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart, I want us to clarify for the audience, the $357,000 was already pre-approved CIP money, is that correct?
That's coming out of the, we're actually calling it the zone money. That's the sales tax that is to do the $24 million worth of paving that was split between foundation and sales tax. It was $12 million, I think, $12 million and change, whatever it comes in at, as sales tax, and we took $150,000 from each area and identified it towards traffic signal improvements. Luckily, we're only going to have $87,000 from each one of the zones, so we're well under budget.
But how much of this is CIP money?
So sales tax would be the 357. They're different sales tax items, Mayor. That's the confusion. One of them is the 2009 sales tax, which was the 250, which was dedicated for this.
That's the 2014, Mike. The 250 is.
Is it?
Yeah.
I get confused.
That's all right.
That's why I was, yeah, I was.
Yeah, no, it's originally it was a 2014 CIP project, and that's
because we had allocated funds that had never gotten used.
Yes,
from
and
that
this is
CIP.
that's the first money that we're using for that.
Yeah, my error, Mayor. I'm sorry.
okay.
So 214, and then the other one is the one that was just passed.
And then on the alternate for the handicap accessibility, will that include putting in crosswalks?
So whatever is not put in, it should include them if a ramp goes in, Mayor. But if it's not, it's something we'll do in-house.
Okay, so we will, because I'm
Yes.
thinking if we're going to make it more accessible,
Yes.
we'll probably need to put in crosswalks.
So we will have in-house work to do to put what I call the polish on them.
And the last question I have, because I'm just concerned because of the difference between the $2 million bid and the $600,000+ bid, is lowest bid the best bid?
So the lowest bid is also the best bid.
Okay.
And one of the things on that $2 million, they were interpreting this to have some of that communication hardware in it, which was not in the bid, and that's one of the confusing parts that they had. We clarified that, but they were in the same pre-bid conference as the other company.
Thank you.
And they were higher on every alternate, by the way.
We're so grateful for this. I think most residents can attest that every time there's a train, it's a disaster. This is going to alleviate a majority of the problem, not all of it, a majority of the problem. And so we're so grateful for your efforts and your staff to be certain that we had something to have this conversation, because we've been waiting 7 years.
Well, and lastly, Mayor, I want to make sure and point out that a lot of this stuff is parts that has to be ordered. And in today's market, it's going to take many months to get them in. So even though we are passing this this week or in Monday's council session, it is going to be quite some time before this project comes to completion. And we will give you updates.
Thank you so much, Mr. Stewart. Madam Chair, I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
And the motion passes. Item number 8.
Consider approval of best bid from Southern Material Handling in the amount of $28,414 for a 6,000-pound capacity forklift for the water treatment plant, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Stewart?
Yeah, I'm going to get Robert Swepston to assist me on this one. He's much more familiar with these forklifts. But I will tell you, this bid is under budget, or it's actually in budget. The amount of $28,414 is not what we're going to do. We're going to do a $28,000 even, which is our budgeted amount. This is the best bid with the best warranty. This is a local company, Southern Material Handling. There were 4 bids that we received. The other 3 are from Tulsa. One's Dar Equipment, Deep South Equipment, and Van Keppel. The lowest one was $26,499, which is $1,500 under the one that we're recommending to you. But I feel that Southern Material Handling is local. They also have a lot of safety features in this forklift that the others don't. And I'll ask Mr. Swepston to explain that. And they also have the best warranty as well. But if Mr. Swepson would explain the safety features.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. I'll be very brief. If I need to expand, just let me know. But to keep from boring you all, I'll just to polish it, as Mr. Stewart would say, and give you the highlights. So something that Toyota has that's very specific to them is a system of active stability. Forklifts are very prone to tip over side to side and even towards the front if you overload it when you're lifting. They have a electronic system that's on there that only they have. They hold the patent on it that activates a dampener, if you will, that locks it up and greatly reduces that tipping over, where the other ones are basically just a shock. It just kind of slows it down and lets you tip over slower. So hopefully you don't hurt yourself as bad. They also have one that keeps it from tipping forward or helps reduce it from tipping forward. It just limits the mass from going too far forward. It senses the weight and helps reduce that frontal tip. As Mr. Stewart said, they are a local vendor. They've been in business since 1948, been here in Muskogee since 1976. We've actually purchased forklifts from them in the past. We're very pleased with the service that we get from them. We have a technician that has over 18 years of Toyota forklift training, so that falls right in line with our ability to service that. The better warranty that Mr. Stewart had mentioned, just to give you an example from the best bid that we're proposing versus the cheapest bid, the best bid is a 3-year or 6,000 hour, what we're going to call bumper to bumper from tip to tip, and the lowest bid is a 1-year or 2,000 hour. And then on the powertrain, it is a 5-year or 6,000 hours versus a 2-year or 4,000 hours. So the warranty is much, much greater. Service right here in Muskogee, so if we need something done to it in that warranty period, it'll be done right here. We don't have transportation costs in trying to move it to the other vendors, which would be out of the Tulsa area. So if I can just simplify it, we're going to compare it to buying a vehicle with anti-lock brakes and airbags versus a vehicle without. The safety features are just much, much greater on this one.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any more discussion?
As chairman,
Yes.
I just want to compliment Mr. Stewart and Mr. Swepson based on the language I just heard, and that is that we want to be certain that we don't just look at the low bid, but that we look at the best bid that's going to be the benefit of the city, because it'll save us money down the line if we do it right the first time. So thank you guys for that.
And Mr. Swepson deserves most of that because he did a lot of research on it.
Thank you, Mrs. Swepson.
Yes.
Very, very
Thank you.
welcome. We feel that's best spent of the taxpayer dollars. The life of this would be 30 years or more, so we know we're going to get our best bang for the buck over that.
Thank you,
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Okay, roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
And the motion passes. We did not have any citizens signed up to speak, so that concludes our Public Works meeting.
We will now call to order the special call meeting of the Muskogee City Council for today, June 21st, 2021. Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Ivory Van. Jamie Stout.
Here.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Here.
Alex Reynolds. Stephanie Morgan.
Here.
Tracy McGee.
Here.
Tracy Hous.
Here.
Item number 1.
Consider an executive session to discuss and take possible action on the following. A, pursuant to Section 307B4, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss the ongoing litigation styled Quintana DBA Fort Gibson Investments v. City of Muskogee, filed in the United States District Court for the Eastern District of Oklahoma, case number 19 CV 066 RAW, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session. B, pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss negotiations with the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Local Number 2465, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session. C, pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss negotiations with the International Association of Firefighters, Local Number 57, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session. D, pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25, Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss negotiations with the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge Number 95, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session.
We will entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Move for approval.
Second.
Roll call.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds. Evelyn Hibbs. Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Will you all please excuse us while we go into executive session at this time? We'll now reconvene from executive session. Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Ivory Van. Jamie Stout.
Here.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Here.
Alex Reynolds.
Here.
Stephanie Morgan.
Here.
Tracy McGee.
Here.
Tracy Hoos.
Here. Mr. Tucker.
Item 1A, pursuant to Section 307B4, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, the council did convene an executive session to discuss ongoing litigation style Quintana, DBA Fort Gibson Investment versus City of Muskogee. After receiving a briefing on the status of that ongoing litigation, no action is necessary at this time. Item 1B, pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, the City Council did convene an executive session to discuss ongoing negotiations with the American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees, Local Number 2465. After being briefed on the status of those negotiations and the fact that the fiscal year is ending, I think an appropriate motion would be to approve an MOU between the American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees, Local Number 2465, and the City of Muskogee, extending provisions of the expiring collective bargaining agreement until the earlier of June 30th, 2022, or a new CBA is negotiated.
Do we have a motion to that effect?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Mr. Tucker.
Item 1C, pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, the council convened an executive session to discuss ongoing negotiations with the International Association of Firefighters, Local Number 57. After being briefed on the status of those ongoing negotiations and determining that they will not be completed by the time the current CBA expires, I think an appropriate motion would be to approve an MOU between the International Association of Firefighters, Local Number 57, and the City of Muskogee, extending provisions of the expiring CBA until the earlier of June 30th, 2022, or a new CBA for fiscal year ending 2022 is negotiated.
Do we have a motion to that effect?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Mr. Tucker.
Item 1D, pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, the council convened an executive session to discuss ongoing negotiations with the Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge Number 95. After being briefed on the status of those ongoing negotiations and recognizing that they will not be complete by the time the current CBA, collective bargaining agreement, expires, I think an appropriate motion would be to approve an MOU between the Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge Number 95, and the City of Muskogee, extending provisions of the expiring CBA until the earlier of June 30th, 2022, or a new collective bargaining agreement for fiscal year ending 2022 is negotiated and executed.
Move
We
for
have a motion to that effect.
move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Thank you for your patience tonight, council. That was our last item. We are now adjourned.